Today is the second episode in my COVID series. Last week I talked about how I've been dealing with being in quarantine. So today I will be talking to therapist Candice Cox on some ways to manage stress and cope with all of the feelings that you may find yourself having. But before I do, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Whether it be the time change and getting darker earlier causing seasonal depression, to dealing with the loss of loved ones, or just not being able to celebrate the holidays as you normally would, you might find yourself overwhelmed with emotion and not really sure how to deal with it or what to do about it. If you find that you do need someone to talk to, I encourage you to reach out for help. You can visit betterhelp.com/tside. That's better, BETTERHELP, to join over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. They are committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free of charge to change counselors if you need to. And because it's completely virtual, no one will even have to know that you're doing it. They offer counseling and therapy over the phone, text messaging, or video, whatever you are more comfortable with. You can even log into your account anytime and leave a message for your therapist, and they'll be able to respond with thoughtful and timely responses. You can even schedule your weekly phone or video sessions ahead of time, so you can have that in your schedule. If you listened to the previous episode, you heard me talking about getting into a regular daily routine. So if you have your therapy session scheduled already, that's something that you know you can look forward to. It's already a part of your schedule. The best part is that it's more affordable than traditional counseling, and they offer financial help if you need it. And as a special offer for T-Side listeners, you get 10% off of your first month. So if you need help managing your anxiety, depression, grief, or even strained relationships, give BetterHelp a try. Again, you can go to betterhelp.com/tside, and I'll be sure to post a link in the description if you want to check it out. And as always, I want to hear from you. Let me know how you're doing managing during quarantine, or just want to provide me some feedback. You can just drop me an email at thetsidepodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the T-Side Podcast. Now let's get into today's episode. Today I have my friend, my soror actually, Candice Cox. She is the founder of the KHAOS Mindset, as well as the owner and clinical director of A&amp Inspirations. She's been doing KHAOS Inc. for quite a while. She is the queen of acronyms, but I've actually been following her in the KHAOS Mindset for a while. So Candice, I will let you introduce yourself, and then we will go ahead and get into some tips on how to deal with everything that's going on in these crazy Corona times.
My name is Candice Cox, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I specialize in intergenerational and environmental trauma. Basically, the things that have happened to us throughout the lineage of our families that continue to be barriers for us in our lives, that have caused trauma for us in our lives, and what happens around us. And, one of the biggest things is we talk about environmental trauma, like we're in the middle of a pandemic like this. If nothing else, it's environmental trauma right now.
To say the very least.
Yes, to say the least.
Yeah. So, when I first started the podcast, I actually thought of Candice as the very first person I wanted to bring on, just because I have a lot of intergenerational trauma that I've worked through and been working through, which is why I've been following the KHAOS Mindset. And so I wanted to bring her on to talk about intergenerational trauma. However, I'll have to bring her on another time to discuss those things, because right now it's a lot going on. I personally have been dealing with trying to manage life in these past, 8 months now. I don't know. All my days seem to run together, honestly. But I've had people reach out and say, what are some tips that I can use to deal with my physical and mental health? Because I know I've talked about before, I've listened to music. I've literally, a DJ saved my life. I sit and listen to the different DJs during quarantine, And then I got the bright idea to start a podcast. I don't know, but I do crafts and I'm usually a homebody. I don't mind being in the house. But after so long, because I work at home and then I'm still at home, I leave the house to get some solace to interact with people. But then we couldn't go anywhere or interact with anybody. So after a while, I was like, okay, I feel like crying. I don't even know why. I'm not sad, but work was stressful because people were asking me, well, what can I do? I don't know. Or they're asking me questions about how they should manage things with their benefits or just their significant others and family, as well as just how should I be feeling? And that's the thing. There is no right answer. Nobody told us how we should be responding. So I know things I've done. I've limited my social media intake. Like everybody else, I've been cooking, trying to exercise. I get up every morning and I do a little workout just so I can have some physical activity because I have rheumatoid arthritis. And if I don't move, that makes things worse. So even when I don't want to, I have to keep going.
Yes.
I figured I'd call somebody else in to give me an acronym to go through. But before I do that, how have you been doing?
Phew, man, it's been real, and so COVID hit after, so I'm recently divorced. So I got divorced in December. And then I was living in Troy, Missouri, which is 45 miles away from St. Louis. And so February 1st, we moved to Webster Groves. And so it's like, okay, me and my kids, we relocated and we moved to Webster Groves, and we're like, okay, we're ready. Our life is starting new. Let's go. And then the March hit. And so like the week before spring break, both of my kids got a cold, both of them. So I kept them out. So they were out of school the last couple of days before spring break. And then spring break hit and then COVID hits. And so they never go back to school. And so, we're in this new place and we've been here for 6 weeks basically. And now we just in the house. And so when COVID hit, I had to take everything. I'm a entrepreneur. So I got two businesses, and I'm like, wait a minute, what does this look like? And we had to take everything virtual, like this, like nothing, And so there was a month where there was an imbalance because like I got contracts with different people, and they call and they're like, your contracts are on hold right now. I'm like, what you mean? They on hold right now, and so I was like, all right, we got to figure this out. And so I took the rest of March and the beginning of April to figure things out. And then we just kind of hit the ground running. And so I'm like, once my financial life was back stable, because that was something, because, everything halted, then it was time to figure out what was really going on, inside. And my coping strategy when I'm under stress is to freeze. And so like I froze emotionally, but I kept moving physically.
You kept going.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was probably mid-June that it hit me. And I was like, I'm like, Candice, you're not okay. Like I realized that I was like, you're not okay. And I'm like, wait a minute, because I'm like, you're not connected to stuff. I started realizing that I wasn't connected to anything. I was just me. And that's all that I was doing. And I'm like, okay, let's take a step back and kind of really look at things. And so I just added this to the KHAOS mindset. I added doing an emotional inventory.
Okay.
And so I sat down.
Look, I'm going to get ready so I can take some notes.
Come on. And so like I sat down and I did an emotional inventory with myself. And so, the 3 pillars of the KHAOS mindset are mindfulness, mental health, and healthy relationships. Okay. And so I looked at healthy relationships and I was like, what is my relationship with myself? And that's the biggest thing, because we don't look at that. We look at our relationship with everybody else, but not with ourselves. And so I looked at it. I was like, in 4 areas: mentally, spiritually, physically, and financially. Where am I? And I had to be real with myself. And so it was like financially, I had leveled out. So I was like, okay, we good. All right, we straight. You ain't got to take nothing from the savings. You making money, it's coming in, you good. So I'm like, financially, I'm good. But then physically, I was like, I've been sitting in this mug eating like crazy. Like, really, what's going on? Like, so all this emotional eating had kicked in. And so I'm like, all right, I got to do something different here. So that's when I started working out and started, changing my eating habits and stuff. And then I was like, mentally, I'm like, Candice, you done tapped out. Like for real. Like you literally are on autopilot. You waking up every day to go to sleep. Like that's
you know
happening.
what? That's honestly, especially for mothers.
Yeah.
They pretty much just go. They have to go to work or find a job or take care of their kids and keep the house straight. Now they got to get the kids together with the whole virtual setup. And then they like, look, I'm not a damn teacher. I don't know how to do. Look, my boss over here on this computer telling me something. But now I got to help her over here. I don't know. Look, what? I don't. Either that or they not acting right. They over here clown, or you can hear the other kids in the background clown. Like, you know what? It's too much.
Why you trying to work? It's too much.
And so you just kind of zone out and just keep going, and you don't take care of yourself.
And so it's like I realized that, and I was like, I was like, mentally, I'm disconnected. And so like I'm like, okay, I got to tap back into myself. That's what I got to do. And then I was looking at myself spiritually, and I'm like, Candice, like I had stopped meditating. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't consistent with praying. None of that stuff was going on no more. And so I was like, okay, once I did that emotional inventory and looked at where I was, then I was like, okay, Candice, where do you want to be? And so then that goes back to the KHAOS mindset again when we look at mindfulness. When I talk about mindfulness with the KHAOS mindset, we look at being intentional. We look at who and what you're giving your attention to and how those things are affecting your attitude. And so I was like, I'm thinking to myself, in these 4 areas, what am I being intentional about? And I'm like, nothing. I'm
nothing.
Like I nothing. Right. I'm just, and it's like, I ain't planning for nothing and then wondering why I'm failing in these areas because I ain't planning for nothing. I'm just seeing what happened. You just throw the rock up and be like, it's gonna fall. That's
right.
It's all.
Right.
And so I'm like, I had to start. So every day I started making sure. So now every day I make sure that I do something in these 4 areas. So it's like, okay, Candice, what are you doing? What are you doing about your mental health? And I say mental wellness is dope. It's done on purpose every day. So it's like every day I need to be doing something to make sure that I'm in a good place mentally. And so it's like, you love music. I'm a music person as well. So it's like I wake up now, as soon as I open my eyes, I got an Alexa and I say, Alexa, play India Ari radio. Or I may say, it depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes it may be Meg Thee Stallion. But, I say, play India Ari radio, and I sit and I just listen for a little while, just to kind of get myself together. And it's like, okay, and then I take the time and I'm grateful. And I say, thank you for the day, but then I set my intentions. What do I want to do with my day today? Even if I'm in this house, what do I want to do with my day? What do I want to do so that it gives me something to look forward to? Because we tired of looking at these walls. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, we tired of looking at these walls.
Absolutely.
So, so it's like after I do that, then I'm like, okay, I make sure that I'm mindful throughout my day to pay attention to who and what I'm giving my attention to. Because when you look at, who you're giving your attention to, who are the people I'm talking to on my phone? Who are the people that, that I'm interacting with on social media? Who am I giving my attention to? And with me and my kids, making sure that I'm giving my attention to my babies, where I'm not just being in their presence, but I'm present in their presence.
Right.
And that's a big thing. But it's also, what am I giving my attention to? Because a lot of negative stuff can pop off as well.
Oh my goodness.
You start telling yourself all this craziness. Like my allergies and sinuses start messing up. I done told myself I got COVID. Like that's just it in my mind. I just diagnosed myself. That's it. I ain't got nothing, man.
I was like, oh, my throat hurt. Let me
You hear me?
I'm like, like thermometer. Do I have a fever? Exactly.
And so it's like, those things, and just recognizing the importance of positive self-talk. And reminding myself that what I tell myself is my truth, and I operate off of my truth. So I have to make sure that I'm very cognizant of what am I telling myself, and is this real, or is this something that I hype myself up about? And that's the realest thing. Being a person that has anxiety, I gotta ask myself often: is this real, or am I hyping myself up? Like, what is it?
Right.
And like that's where it comes in when we talk about the acronyms. Reset. That's one of our skills. remember every situation encourages thought. And so like I constantly have to reset throughout my day. I have to remember every situation encourages thought. And so when something's going on and I can feel myself being triggered, I can feel myself, being in a different headspace where I'm not positive or something's not cool, it's not right. Okay, Candice, like what done changed?
Yeah.
What's going on? And looking at it like what's going on? Did I see something on TV that didn't change, that it made me feel some type of way? Did I see something on social media that it made me feel some type of way? Like what is it? Because if I'm in my own little bubble and I'm fine, then what pulled me out my bubble? Like what is it? And so looking at those things and then, making sure that I got my toolbox in place now. So it's like, like you were saying, listen to music, exercising and stuff like that. Like I had to create a plan for me. So every day I got something on the agenda that I'm going to do.
And be intentional about it.
Right. So I'm intentional about it. I look at it, at the end of my day now, I look at what I do today and what was good. Like what was the goods that happened today and what was the bads. And so the stuff I don't like, we need to make sure we don't repeat that tomorrow. But the stuff that I do, then make sure that we increase that. Let me be intentional about doing those things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's what is very important because we have to make sure that you got some kind of plan. It could be a very loose plan. You know what I'm saying? But you got to make sure you got some kind of plan so that you're not just because you can literally waste your whole day.
Yeah. And people will say, well, I don't have time to do all that. And like you said, it can be a loose plan.
Yes.
Just because you're saying, well, just say, what did I do today? You can do it.
Yes.
When you go take a shower.
Yes.
Be mindful about that.
Be intentional about saying, I'm gonna take a shower this morning. You know what I'm saying? Just intentional. Like I'm intentional. I'm going to cook breakfast this morning. You know what I'm saying? Just something just like that, but it's just having something. So giving yourself something to do. Because especially right now with us being in these houses, some people done got off lockdown. Some of us are still on lockdown. Some of us are on self-appointed lockdown. I'm one of them folks. You know what I'm saying? But,
exactly.
If we are inside of our homes, we have to start figuring, we have to give ourselves some type of routine. If not, all we're going to do is just let the sun come up and go back down. And that really can cause depression. Like being in these houses is really causing depression.
Yeah, it's settling in.
Hopeless and you like, I'm helpless. I ain't never gonna leave. I gotta always leave with a mask if I do. Like, what's gonna happen? And depression is real.
And that's the thing for people who don't even have or feel like they've never had mental health issues. I'm not depressed. I don't have anxiety because sometimes you don't realize what it is. You don't recognize that that's depression. That's anxiety. It's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
So
and understanding that in all these situations, like ain't nothing wrong with us. Like ain't nothing wrong with us. But something has happened to us. And that's the thing. And we have to understand that like our bodies, they're machines. No matter how you look at it, your body is a machine and your brain is the operating system for that machine. It's just like you got a cool car and your brain is the transmission. And so it's like, it don't matter how good your car is and how clean it is. If your transmission is slipping, you ain't going nowhere. And so it's like, we got to constantly make sure that, okay, nothing's wrong with me, but I got to sit back and see what has happened to me because I've changed. And that's it. And we operate 90% from our subconscious brain and 10% from our conscious. And so that means that like 90% of the things that we're doing is based off of stuff that's already been done.
Exactly.
And so it's like, we gotta recognize those patterns. We gotta see them so that we can start unlearning the things we thought were right and relearn new ways of doing things. And I know that change is hard.
And the thing is now, because you don't have anything but time, you have to sit with yourself.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing because a lot of us we do so much running, because when somebody's been traumatized, they fight, flight, or freeze, and most of the time it's fleeing. So it's like I'm trying to work it away, shop it away, drink it away, sex it away, like all these different things I'm trying to do to stay busy, so I ain't got to deal with me. And now you telling me I can't go nowhere? Like I gotta sit in here with myself. And a whole lot of people started to realize they don't like their kids. Like, I need or they don't like their spouses.
Exactly.
They in the house with them
all day
long, you know. And so it's like, okay, now it's taking time to get to know you again. Do that emotional inventory and see where you are, so that you can do that work for yourself, because happiness and peace are inside jobs.
Yes. You know, oh my goodness.
And you can't expect or ask nobody to heal for you. Realest thing ever. So it's like we can use this time to work on ourselves, but also, you know, really be patient with ourselves and understand that, you know, you doing the best you can with what you got right now. And so
literally, that's it.
So showing up is you showing up the best way that you can, and your show up may not look like somebody else's show up, and that's absolutely okay. You know, don't compare yourself to somebody else. You may see somebody and they out there being superwoman, and they got all these magnificent things. They done wrote 7 books and put out 4 productions in 8 months, and you like, oh my God, well, I'm behind. No, you're not. You just where you
supposed to be.
You know, and understand it. The best we can what we get. That's it. You know, that's it. And you know, sometimes I be patient. You know, I use my patience skill. And patience stands for pause and think. Inhale, exhale, now talk or now tap out. And so, you know, especially like with all this political stuff that's been going on.
Oh my Lord Jesus. I can't. I tapped out.
And see, that's the thing. We have to recognize that. And so it's like we have to take the time, and all of this stuff has to do with you doing your own personal assessments on you.
Yeah.
It's all about you. You are your expert. You the expert on you. Can't nobody ever tell you more about you than yourself. That's it. You know, even in therapy, I can only help you help yourself become the better version of you. I ain't the expert, you are.
I say it all the time. You know what? A good therapist is not going to tell you what to do.
Thank you.
It will help you figure it out.
Right. I'm going to ask you, how did you get there? You know what I'm saying? How did you get there, and where are you trying to go? You know, so we can get there together.
Exactly.
That's it. But you know, oftentimes having to, you know, pause and think about what's going on, you know, inside of yourself. What's happening inside of me? What's going on with me? What's happening around me? What's happening with the people that I'm interacting with? You know, taking the time, if you feel yourself being anxious, if you feel yourself being depressed, if you feel yourself being overwhelmed, you feel yourself disconnected, take that time to inhale and exhale, like literally breathe. And take mindful breaths, like pay attention to yourself breathing. Like I say 717, breathe in 7, hold it 1, let it out 7.
Yes.
And this time, just allow your mind to clear. Whatever thoughts are coming in, just let them come, let them flow, and just get them out. You know, and sometimes, you know, when there's too much happening, we have to do a grounding exercise. And so my favorite grounding exercise is the senses, you know, so it's like I look around and be like, what's 5 things I can see? What's 4 things I can touch? What's 3 things I can hear? You know, what's 2 things I can smell? What's something I can taste? Like, what's a taste I got going on in my mouth? You know, and that helps me go from the right side of my brain to the logical side, to the left side of my brain. You know, and then that helps with like anxiety and stuff like that. When you worrying about everything, it's like, okay, what can I do now? You know, because when we think about it, we spend so much time in the past or in the future that we really don't trip off of the present until it's in the past.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And so, you know, making sure that we can focus on what's happening now and what can I do now in this moment? Because all I got is right now. All I got is right now. I can't do nothing about what happened 10 minutes from now, and I can't do nothing about what happened 10 minutes ago. All I got is right now. And so what can I do this moment? And that gives a little bit more comfort in this moment than me trying to figure out what I'm about to do. What I'm gonna do when the pandemic over. I don't know. What I'm gonna do when the pandemic over? Like what I'm gonna do, you know, when it's time to do the inauguration, you know, what's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen, but I can tell you what I'm doing right now.
And I remember, I think you asked on Facebook, you know, just checking in, how's everybody doing? I was like, I'm good, because I saw it coming. It's already too much. I'm gonna just go ahead and take off November 3rd and the 4th, because I'm gonna need a whole day to process after the election.
Yes. Yes.
So I'd planned ahead. I already knew where I was mentally. I can't deal with too much more. I'm
Yes.
going to just go ahead and take some time. And people were out voting. I voted early. And you know what I did? I went to the grocery store.
Yes.
And it was a really nice day out
Yes.
here.
It
So
was a nice day. Yeah, it was.
I was good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm actually good. And I have a coworker and I text her. And although I hadn't said it and put it into words, I was doing the same thing. She said, you know what? I figured, I'm going to take today and intentionally make it a good day because you know what? We might not have any good days for a long time. So if nothing else, if I'm not going to have a lot of good days, I'm going to enjoy this one while I can. I was like, exactly.
Right. So I ain't sitting back thinking about this good day on a bad day. No, I'm going to enjoy it in the moment that it's in.
Just enjoy it while I can.
And that's it. And it's like, that's the ENT part of a patient. That's that, you can either now talk about it or you can tap out. Yeah. And it's absolutely okay. And it's like we, especially as women, have to give ourselves permission to tap out. Everybody crisis ain't ours. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't got to personalize other people's experiences. We ain't got to do nothing. It's absolutely okay for you to make yourself the number one priority and for you to tap out of everything else and tap into you. And that was something that
that's hard for women.
Yeah, it is, because we're nurturers and we're carers and we're caregivers and we want to make sure everybody is okay. But if you're not okay, how you gonna make sure somebody else is okay? It's just like they tell you when you get on the plane, secure your mask first.
Absolutely.
Secure the other person's. And that's what we have to do. And like I had to make sure that I did that for myself. I had to tap out. Like I went off social media for 60 days. You know what I mean? I was off. And it's like, it's crazy because I'm usually putting stuff out there. I'm mental wellness is dope. So I'm like, every day I need y'all to get this healing, but I had to step out and be like, okay, but I need to come get this healing for myself.
Right.
And so I had to tap out and I had to tap into me. And that's when I started working out. You know what I mean? I started changing my eating habits. I started being intentional about my mindfulness routine. I started being intentional about who I let into my space because I had all the Debbie Downers calling in, sir, no, like, bruh, I can't. Like, I'm gonna need you to get a journal and write this out because you not. I can't. And I'm your friend. I can't even be your therapist. So like, we can't do it. And we can. It's like, I need us to all take this one day at a time, and that's all that we get. But, we can't, but we have to be mindful that there's real stuff that's happening here. And so you have to really take the time to, to be patient with you and actually look at yourself and be like, how is this affecting me? Because there are people that are dying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are people that are sick. There are people that are losing their jobs. There are people like this is real and it is coming close to home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's really close to home. So that anxiety and stuff is real. And so because of that, we have to be able to really do an emotional inventory on ourselves to look at what are the emotional casualties that I have suffered as a result of what is happening around me and stop saying I'm okay. Because ain't nobody okay right now. The real truth of it is, I can be okay for a moment, but catch me in 30 minutes. I may not be okay. And that within itself is okay because it's normal, but we got to recognize it. We can't act like we can't lie about it.
You just have to acknowledge it. Like, you know what? I can't. I'm done. I quit today. I can't do it. There's nothing else left for me.
Yes. Yes. It's like, that's real, and understanding that it's absolutely okay to tap out sometimes. Tapping out don't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're weak or any of those things. And we have to stop thinking that getting in touch with our emotions means that we're weak. You know what I'm saying? Like strong does not mean I don't deal with my stuff. I think, one of the most courageous things to do is for you to deal with stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the most courageous things for you to do. And so, I think like if I can't challenge anybody else, to anything, if you can hear this, like take the time out to do your own emotional inventory. Like really take the time out to see where you are and then be intentional about where you want to go so that you can start every day, do something to work toward where you want to go.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything drastic. I mean, if you really seriously feel like, you know, I'm not making it, I'm really struggling, reach out for some help. If you feel like you depressed to the point where you're starting to feel suicidal, because that's a real thing, reach out for some help.
Please and thank you.
I mean, reach out to people, because that's the thing. We're humans. We're people. We need human interaction. And when we don't get it,
it does something to us. Like it literally does something physically to us. We have to understand, you know, like we have chemicals and those chemicals can become imbalanced. You know, certain things happen, and especially with depression, you know, and so it's like you're feeling depressed and you having these suicidal thoughts, you having these thoughts of hopelessness and helplessness. But what you have to understand is that's not your reality, but that is what your brain is telling you based off of the messages that's being sent to it or through it. And so because of that, we have to be, you know, we have to be mindful. So when it's like, okay, I'm doing an emotional inventory and I realize I'm sleeping a lot more than I was. I realize I'm disconnected. I realize I'm snapping out more than I used to be. I realize I'm sad. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, all of those different things. It's like I realize it. And because I realize this about myself, now I have to acknowledge it. Like that whole thing where people say it's okay not to be okay. Yes, it is okay not to be okay. But once you recognize you're not okay, then you got to do something about it. And that's the hardest part. But it's like, don't sit Indian style and not being okay. Now, then to feel your feelings, allow yourself to have them because you're yours, but don't sit Indian style there, because know that not okay space is there because something is happening with you or has happened.
And that's exactly where I was at. I was, because I hadn't had that human interaction. So I just called my friend, was like, look, I'm gonna come do a driveway visit. Yeah. I'll sit in the driveway. I just literally need to see faces.
I can't keep talking on the phone. I just gotta see you.
Yeah. You know? And it happened to be a nice day. And she was like, oh, great. You know how to plant flowers? Girl, no, I don't know nothing about gardening. So she was like, great. You can help us look on YouTube while we figure it out. And I was like, yeah, because I don't have a clue. Right. But aside from being able to see her, I got to be outside in the sun, natural vitamin D. Vitamin D. And we got to do some gardening.
Yeah, y'all got to interact, and you got your hands in the ground, you know, and those things are good. And I think that, you know, dealing with COVID, we got to understand that it's like, it's absolutely okay, you know, for us to find new ways of doing things. It's about creating a new normal. And that's it. But I think that while we're creating a new normal, we have to understand that we gotta allow ourselves to grieve the loss of what is gone. You know, and and it's like, and while we're grieving, recognize that, you know, we're gonna go through depression, we're gonna go through bargaining, we're gonna go through anger, you know, we're gonna go through denial, we're gonna go through those things before we get to acceptance. And then when we get to acceptance, we might go back and go and, you know, go through these things, and it's okay. You know, giving yourself permission to be human and feel. We have to literally feel our way through this. And
because it's new for everybody.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Not put any expectations on ourselves. You know, that's the thing. We so quick to put these expectations on ourselves, and then we disappoint ourselves when we don't reach them. We don't know what our capacity is right now because we ain't never experienced this. I don't know what my capacity is. I don't know what this is supposed to look like. And then looking at it and understanding that everybody is figuring this out. This is new, first time thing for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. You mad at the teacher. The teacher don't know how to do it either.
And the teacher trying to teach your kid, and she got kids in the back room, she need to be teaching herself. Like, it's real. It's real, you know. And so understanding not only to be patient with yourself, but also be patient with others. And understand that, you know, we all going through something, and that's it. And so, you know, we are all doing the best we can with what we got, and that's okay.
That's it. It is. That's kind of just where we're at today.
One foot in front of the other. That's it.
Yep.
And that is enough.
And that's enough. So run them down for us real quick again. What is patient?
So patient is pause and think. Inhale, exhale, now talk or now tap out. So if you don't have the language to talk about it, it's absolutely okay for you to tap out. And then reset is, remember, every situation encourages thought. So for every action, it's a positive or negative reaction. You always got a choice. And that's the one thing we have to remember. We always got a choice. We may be stuck between two choices that we don't want to make, but we do have a choice. So don't allow yourself to be a victim in this situation. You're not a victim. Allow yourself to make choices and move forward.
And since you said you like music too, I'll let you pick the mood of the day or the song for today.
So because of things going the way that they are going with the election and us having things the way they are, I picked Just Fine by Mary J. Blige.
Yes, I love that. That's one of my happy songs. That's one of my songs
too.
I love it. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on and talking with me, sharing some insight. And I will definitely have to have you back on to talk about intergenerational trauma.
Yes, please. And thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on anytime.
Yes. And so what are your socials? Where can they find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at KHAOS Mindset. That's KHAOS MINDSET. And then we are KHAOS Inc. on Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Miss Candice. I definitely appreciate you. And you take care of yourself.
Thank you. You do the same from my heart to yours. You guys have an amazing day.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the T-Side Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at the T-Side Podcast, all one word. If you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes to rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the episodes. And be sure to tell a friend about the show. Until next time.